Yo, what is going on everybody? How is it going? It is Refo here today, and we are back to speak to you about how you can practice with your trio. So obviously it's going to be trio tournaments coming up. They have announced that, and we've got trio arena now. So cash cups is going to be for trios, so obviously you want to be practicing a lot with your trio. And so yeah, today we're going to be speaking about how you can do that and the best way to do that. So obviously you want to be practicing effectively. All these methods obviously are going to hopefully help you, but you need to put the time in and make it effective. You know, if you do so much of one and not enough of the other, then they won't balance out. So obviously as well, it goes without saying, practice a lot. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're doing all these things a lot and give yourself, you know, the best chance. Even if you do all these things, you know, might be some people that are doing it more, so you got to make sure that you keep on top. So I'm going to be speaking about obviously keeping a good mindset as well while you're practicing. That's very crucial, because you want to make sure while you're practicing, if you've got a good mindset, you're going to be, you know, hopefully entering, you know, the flow state, that kind of thing, keeping up good mentality so you can all practice, learn things at a better pace, you know, to just try and put yourself ahead of the game. The flow state is basically where you're in a state of mind where you are improving at basically a much faster rate. You're learning things and picking up things so much more quickly. I'll leave a detailed video on this in the description for you to check out. Okay, so the first proper method of practicing I'm speaking about is creative. You know, some people might think, why practice this for trios? I think creative is great because you can do 3v3s of all types. You've got 3v3 zone wars, box fights, realistics, just to name a few. Obviously, you know, see what you enjoy, what works for you. They're easy to build chemistry, like they're great. You know, you can learn each other's mechanics, you can just play with each other. There's always constant comms, there's always action, which is awesome for building chemistry. You can also learn each other's play styles. Like, you don't have to play on a team with each other. You know, you could free for all together. You can learn how your opponents build, you know, so you know where to position each other in the trio. So yeah, you just want to make sure you know that's really good for learning each other's play styles, so you know how to position everyone in the trio. And another thing I'm speaking about is doing wagers if possible, because this is going to put you on higher stakes, because you're going to be going in higher stakes in tournaments. So if you can get that practice early on, then that is great. Now the next one, which in my personal opinion I think is going to be the best way to practice, because as it is cash cups, as you know, cash cups, you want to get one of those big impact games off the start. That's crucial to qualling or to doing well in one of the cash cups. You want that big game off the start, or, you know, play very consistently. And I think the lobbies are somewhat comparable to arena. You know, you're not going to have the best players, but you know, sometimes you're also not going to have the worst players. So I'd say, you know, when you're playing arena, don't play passive, just W key, get that confidence as a trio. It's what's going to be important. You know, when you're getting into those fights in the tournament, you need to have confidence and no nerves. You know, that's going to be something that is, you know, quite important, something that will take time to work on. You know, everyone gets nervous, that's completely cool. Make sure that when you're W keying, you're playing like a smart W key. You know, obviously that's your own judgment, taking fights that you can take. You know, don't, you know, play as if you're in a W keying in a tournament. You know, like there is something on the line that does help, you know, into making sure that you take every fight effectively, and just playing smart with your W key and being as efficient as possible. You know, as you're just practicing in arena, getting in the fights, you will soon build confidence and know exactly how to play when it comes to the tournament, and you'll just be ready to W key everyone and just drop a 30 bomb, you know. You know, with arena as well, just recommend keeping to the same drop spot, because obviously in a tournament you probably won't change up a drop spot unless you want to learn a W key spot. In my opinion, I would just stick to one spot for most people. You know, a spot that you can W key a little bit in as well. It's going to be quite good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be speaking about is playing every single tournament possible. This might seem like, why, you know, I think, you know, tournaments, people play a little bit differently. Now, this does not just go for official Fortnite tournaments. You know, you've got, you know, the cash cups which are coming up. If you can play on multiple regions, then, you know what, do it. You know, as long as it's not like, as long as it's good prac, if you know, you can kind of understand what I mean from that. So just making sure that the ping isn't too high, you know, that it's unplayable, making sure that you can still actually take fights and play as you would, you know, not at a huge disadvantage. Play non-official tournaments as well, because there's obviously a lot of good players in those. So if you're in the EU region, you've got D2 Cup, which is Twitch streamer who hosts a trios tournament. You know, I've heard they're quite stacked. And also money customs. There's a lot of streamers you go on Twitch hosting money customs. You know, you can practice. Hopefully people can be playing for endgame without zone rules, which is great. You know, and they could, you know, hey, you may even make a bit of money if you win. I would recommend going into Discords to look for some tournaments. You know, maybe look in the Atlantis Discord, some of those, you know, so you can see which tournaments are around. Also look on Twitch is also another good place. Also sub customs are great because obviously you've got, you know, people kind of playing out a bit. Try and get sub customs with no zone rules if you can, but you know, obviously that's more scrims. So that brings me on to my next point, which is scrims. So I think the scrims are good. I think they're good if you're going to be if you know you're going to be, you know, quad and getting into those high point rounds. I'd say for most people, mostly practice arena. I think scrims, if you enjoy them, they're very fun, and you can get good at fighting high level players, which is going to be very important. And also your end game practice. If you can, you know, in some ways I think it is good to practice scrims for arena and lower point lobbies as well, because if you can crack up an end, you know, if you can get a stacked end game, then you can probably get a less stacked one, but that doesn't always mean they're going to play out the same. So you also want to play arena, but scrims are also good, you know, fighting high level players. Practicing your drop, scrims are great for, because you're allowed to fight off spawn. And also end game, because you aren't in cash cup, you know, you're probably going to reach some stacked games, you know, so yeah, I would definitely recommend playing some scrims. Next thing I'm speaking about is, you might think, well, you know, I've said the main ones: creative, arena, tournament, scrims, that kind of thing. You know, that's kind of all quite basic. I've just gone a bit in depth on that. I'm going to be speaking about the outer level things. So we're going to be speaking about VOD reviewing together. You might think that VOD reviewing, you might think it's boring. You might think it's something that's not too important. But honestly, I think VOD reviewing is key. It is crucial to actually doing well. Now, I'd say, don't just VOD review yourself. VOD review high level players, but especially, you know, I'd say try and VOD review yourself as well. See where you're making those mistakes, because obviously sometimes when you think about something back, it's not the same as watching it back. So I definitely recommend VOD reviewing, you know, chilling with your trio, all looking at it together, you know, maybe going in a Discord call, one of you screen sharing, that kind of thing, because that's going to be very good to not only build your chemistry and how you speak to each other, but to also build the way you practice in games, so you know different focus points, then you can choose those focus points and develop on them in actual practice routines. Another thing I'm speaking about when practicing is have a schedule, okay? So whether that's, you know, Monday we're going to do scrims, Tuesday we're going to play arena all day, Wednesday, you know, we're going to do an hour of VOD review. Have that schedule in. It will keep everyone dedicated, you know, everyone hyped, which is really important. So I definitely recommend getting a schedule, knowing each other's schedule, getting one where everyone works, so you can get the most effective and efficient practice possible. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be speaking about is it seems very basic point, but just talk to each other. You know, you want to make sure you're all, you know, talking to each other about, you know, hey, you know, I saw that you did this in the other game, you know, I'm just wondering why, you know, maybe you could have done this, you know. You need to have that, allocate that time so you can properly speak about it. Because sometimes if, you know, you say to a team after this game, you should have done that, they might say, yeah, I understand, but they might not fully, you know. So if you want to get them, make the most and make sure that they know, you know, speak about it. Just speak about things as a trio. What, you know, what you need to do, what you need to work on. Have that, schedule that time in, because that's quite important time that is really going to help a lot with your practice. Another thing I'm speaking about is mechanics grinding as a trio, because obviously you don't want to be playing together actually all the time. If you're always playing as a trio, you won't actually get time to fully focus on yourself, and to, you know, to play in a good trio, you also need to have focus on yourself. That includes your own mechanics. So I'd recommend chilling in the call with your trio while your mechanics grind. You can all kind of do it, grind together, makes the whole thing a little bit more enjoyable, and just make sure everyone is dedicated still. So, you know, you can just maybe share each other's screen, show I'm doing this mechanic, I can use this in the scrim at some point. You know, just make sure you work on it and don't just play as a trio. You also want to schedule that time in to make yourself better as a solo, to make yourself better as a trio in a way. You know, go into creative, free building, that kind of thing. So obviously I spoke a little bit about this at the start, but it is going to be balancing your practice. If you want balancing your practice and you're just doing that all creative, you're not going to get a good balance of different scenarios in game. You know, it's Fortnite, it's a very unpredictable game. A lot of things can happen, so you want to make sure you've varied your practice enough so you know exactly what you're doing when it comes to the fights. So yeah, make sure you balance your practice just to ensure that you have the widest spread of knowledge towards the game. So I think that is going to cover everything for today. If this video did help you, please consider dropping a like, and also I do upload more tips and tricks videos on the channel, so please consider subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day. Goodbye.